Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Behind the Uni, brought to you by the University of Gloucestershire, the podcast that covers everything to do with student life with your hosts, Hisham and Lewis. Let's dive in.
Thank you so much for tuning back in to Behind the Uni Podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything university, whether it's from mental health issues to getting that coin and helping you save money. We're here to let you know what's the 411 with university. I have to address something. Obviously, to my right, it's not Lewis, the regular co-host for the podcast, because he's actually in Spain, which I'm very jealous about. As always, someone is interrupting the podcast, which is fine. We'll just keep going. But yeah, Lewis is in Spain. So we have two students who are co-hosting with me today, and we have a great guest, and we're going to talk about welfare at university. And I guess like a really good segue to kind of talk about welfare. We'll introduce the students in a second, but we have Asha Sutton, who's the welfare officer for the Students' Union at the University of Gloucestershire. Hi, Asha.
Hi, my pronouns are she, her, and welfare and diversity officer.
Welfare and diversity. I always forget the diversity bit.
That's okay.
No worries. And we have Lewis Holman, who's back on the podcast.
Hello, I'm back from my escapade. What's it called?
Escapade.
of robbing banks. So,
yeah, again.
That's a walking red
The
flag.
last episode that Lewis was on, or one of the episodes that Lewis was on, we were talking about money matters and saving money, and your solution was to just go and rob a bank.
Yeah.
Metaphorically or figuratively?
Whatever gets me in less trouble.
Fair
I
enough.
thought it was a very serious episode. I feel like, just had
It
to...
was very serious. But yeah, Lewis does not rob banks.
The other Lewis does.
The other
That's
Lewis.
what he's doing in Spain.
Yeah.
He's doing a money heist.
He's in hiding.
He's in hiding. And we also have Hannah Smith, who's a magazine journalism student with us. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hannah always wears green on the podcast. We've established that's her thing now.
Not on purpose,
Not on-
just
But
can't get enough.
It looks good on you. But yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day and coming to talk to us. University is so bespoke to whoever attends it, and there's so many different things that you can get involved with or not get involved with. But the main thing that I think a lot of students will relate to is that at some point at university, you feel down, you feel a bit stressed, you feel overwhelmed, and it's just like a shared experience that we all have. I know when I was a student, I felt that. How is it like for you guys? Obviously, I'm not asking, do you ever feel stressed? But how has it been? You're in third year. How's it going?
It's
going.
Yeah.
You go first.
Okay. I feel like for me, I took a year away, so I've come back with a whole new set of people. It's very different. I feel like after lockdown, because it's my first year after lockdown, I just kind of feel like I'm a lot more aware of like how I'm feeling mentally. I remember in the summer after, is it Freshers' Fair?
Yeah,
I remember
welcome fair.
Welcome fair.
I'm leaving the podcast.
Welcome fair. Yeah, we don't say Freshers anymore.
Freshers' Fair. I apologise. After welcome fair, I went to the help zone. Like, I just need help, man. Like, I'm proper suffering. And there was I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she sat me down and she said, "Okay, so like, talk me through your big problem," and then she kind of split up into small things I could do.
That's so good.
And like since then, like things have got like a lot better. But yeah, it's just third year is like so stressful. Like you're broke. You like, most of us.
That's why you rob banks.
That's why you're broke. Like you have to deal with like so many assignments. Like sometimes you're doing like two at once. There's so much pressure of like getting a job at the end of like you've got to work hard. And we spoke about this like with us being like part of journalism and the media, that you look at other people your age and like, wow, they're doing this stuff, they're doing this and this and this, and I'm sat here with Dorito stains on my trousers.
The mood.
And you just go like, oh, like I got to do more. So
yeah, it's like the added pressure, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think everyone's saying to you, so what are you doing next? What's your next step? You're like, I don't know.
You get so much imposter syndrome.
You get so much imposter syndrome.
And think that everyone knows exactly what they're doing, that they're doing it better than you, and like actually no one knows what they're doing either.
Also, it's okay to not know what you're doing. Like, it's the classic case of like, I think after Christmas in third year, everyone expects you to have like a 5-year plan, a business plan with a trajectory and an estimated value of who you are. So like what you're doing next, who you're going on, where you're working next. And I used to always just say, I don't know.
What is your dream job?
Yeah, tell me.
I don't know.
To not be broke.
To live on a beach.
Yeah,
That's
like
my dream job.
But the thing is, I think when you're in university, like you have all the added pressure of excelling in that specific industry that you're in. But something that, I don't know, I always encourage any student to always not be tunnel visioned about a specific industry, because the course that you're on might teach you so many transferable skills. Like I study journalism, but I kind of work in social media, and I'm going on to do a master's and all that stuff. You're obviously like in magazine journalism, which is a very niche industry. How are you feeling kind of wrapping up your degree?
I actually think that it's been really varied. Because the magazine journalism and journalism, they all kind of like cross over at times. Like I feel like for me anyway, I've got to do so many things. There's been like the traditional journalism stuff and writing and learning like the newsy things, but then we've also done like the creative design stuff, podcasting, social media. So I do feel like I've not just kind of got like one skill and that's it. I've got a lot, and like you said, it's really transferable, and like there's still so many jobs that I don't know of and won't know until I'm in the working world, but I've learned about so many more jobs that I didn't know about at the beginning of uni, which is good.
Yeah, it opens so many doors for you.
Yeah.
And I think one thing as well with that is like, because you've got so much going on in third year, like I'm going back to 2020 when I was in my third year, you're focusing so much obviously on the here and now, on the things you're doing right now, the assessments, the dissertation, that when people are saying to you what you're doing next, it's like, I can't look that far ahead yet because I need to focus on now. Like for example, now obviously I'm going towards the end of my term and people are saying to me, so what are you doing next? And I'm like, stop it. Because if I'm still obviously in the term doing my campaigns, doing my projects, I'm like, I don't know. So hard, isn't it? Because you don't always have enough headspace sometimes to look at the kind of 4 months ahead or whatever. It's
like I call it your wavelength. If your wavelength is fully occupied and at full capacity of what you're working on, how are you planning?
Exactly.
How are you also, like, planning is great and being organized is great, but sometimes you've got to give yourself
I
a break.
was up till 1 a.m. last night finishing an assignment.
Oh no.
So
no.
How are you feeling?
I'm actually feeling refreshed.
That's good. That's good.
I've had a lot of coffee.
And the thing is, I think that's the secret. Like another thing with expectations.
Sorry to my lecturer. No, I didn't.
No. Your lecturer would have done the same thing when they were students. Your lecturer would have done the same thing when they were students.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing of like the added pressure of like being on social, and it does really affect your mental health. Like seeing you have to be organized, you have to be wholesome, you have to go to bed at 9 a.m. Sorry, not 9 a.m. 9 a.m.
People are going to say
that's what people are doing.
Like you have to go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up at 7 and basically have your shit together.
Yeah.
No one has their shit together.
I feel like some of the most interesting people that I've got to meet while at university, like some of the 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds, don't know what they're doing.
No.
And like you think about now, like our generation, I'm showing the fact that I'm well read, I read The Guardian here. The fact that like more so our generation will have like multiple different jobs. Like
100%.
take yourself for instance, like you're in social media, you might make the jump back to journalism or you just don't know, like the path's not straight.
I graduated in 2019 when I was in my third year doing journalism with a tunnel vision of like, I need to secure a journalism job because that's the expectation I have from my family, from my friends, of actually doing something with my degree. I secured the grad job. I worked hard for that job, and I finished uni, took a week off, jumped straight into a job, was there for 18 months. You know what? I loved it. But since graduating, I'm now in my third job. And we're in like nearly mid 2022. So like it's this whole idea of our generation needing to know what they want, needing to know what they need to do, or finding a job and staying in a job for like years and years and years. It's just so archaic. It doesn't exist anymore.
But it's so scary to change your mind sometimes. You're like, when you have that realization where you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that thing that I've had my mind set on for ages. Or you tell everyone at one point, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do this job. And then you backtrack and you think, I don't actually want to do that anymore. I'm too embarrassed to tell everyone that I don't want to do it.
It was like me at uni, I did creative writing, so part of English, and then came on to this job doing like, welfare and pastoral care and stuff. And so many people were so surprised. They're like, but that's not to do with your degree. And they're like, well, there's obviously transferable skills there and there's links. But then
also, you want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you to question me?
Yeah.
I actually want to question you about that, Noel. So you finished uni in 2020.
Yeah.
The dreadful year.
Literally, when it all happened, was doing my disc on my bed. Lol.
Oh my
Love my
god.
life.
But like, you know what? Good for you. You got through it.
Yeah.
You obviously. So, first of all, tell people how do you get the SU officer role? How does it work? And then I would love to know, was it kind of in your plan to join the SU, or is it just something that you're like, oh, I want to do that?
Yeah. So in order to get the role, so you're elected in by students. So you have to campaign for it. So it goes back to the politics. You have to literally write a manifesto.
Love that.
And then it's actually quite fun. You write a manifesto. You have to go to different campuses, speak to students, campaign, get voted in. Sometimes you'll go against a lot of people as well. So in my first year, I think I went against 5, and then in second year about 4. So you have to be elected in by students. So it's a democratic process, which sounds really scary, but is actually really fun.
No, but it's good because it represents the student voice.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you get into it. But in terms of, was it my plan? No. I remember being in third year, crying on my bed with my dissertation next to me, with COVID happening, what am I doing with my life? And it came up as because of the person who used to be welfare officer was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So she was saying, I'm coming towards my end of term now. I think you'd be really good at it. And I was like, I don't know, this wasn't in the plan. I was going to go and work in a magazine or a newspaper. What am I doing with my life? And when she suggested it and spoke about it more, I was like, oh my gosh, I've always been the mother hen. I've been the mother hen in moves. If someone runs off, I'm right there. So I was like, maybe this is for me. And then, looked into it more and went for it, loved it. And then that's why I went for a second term. So
I love that.
Yeah.
But it's the classic case what I just said, students who maybe were going through studies during the pandemic, i.e. you two, would have had that thought of being is this worth it? Thinking about do I just drop out of uni? Can I be asked to kind of go on with this journey?
Yeah.
So it's really cool to kind of see that you went through that and then you came out of it with a full-on different career path.
Yeah.
Because you've done incredible things, and we'll talk about the stuff that you've done at the uni.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So you're technically a politician. So could you take over?
Don't know about what.
Could you take over for Boris Johnson now that he's
well, I'll have to get back to you on that.
Oh
God.
I think Asha for
You
Prime
didn't
Minister.
say no. Yeah.
You've got 3
This is a
votes
new
here.
campaign now.
Yeah.
Started me to go on.
So you've done 2 terms, and then we just elected the new student union officers.
Yeah, that's
who
right.
I'm sure we'll get on the podcast at some point.
I'm sure.
But as you're wrapping up, kind of, this is something that if they're listening to it, what's been your favourite part of the job so far?
Is in over the 2 years?
Yeah,
or this year? Because there's
In
so
general,
much.
no, over the 2 years, looking back, you've done a lot of great things, and we will talk about that. But I would love to know your favourite thing that you've done.
Thing. Probably the leading on the Never Okay stuff, so about student safety and kind of sexual misconduct in the nighttime economy. We launched a campaign in October about that, and we've continued it throughout the year. And because I've been leading on that, I've kind of had quite an influence on what we do for that, what campaigns we launch. So probably that, we did self-defence classes a couple of weeks ago, and we have good partnerships with Moos, and we've got anti-spiking devices in the shops. I've probably enjoyed doing that and leading on that because of that's probably been my baby.
Which I think is I don't know, when I read into the Never Okay campaign that you launched and what you guys are doing for students, I was like, every university needs this.
Yeah.
Needing the outlet of actually telling students, female students, let's not beat around the bush, mainly female students, that if you come here, we've got you.
Yeah,
we'll take care of you.
We wanted to be really clear on our zero tolerance policy and our stance, because we were looking at other unions and unis, and they were being don't get spiked. It was no, don't spike. 100%, isn't it?
It's
looking
like
at the
mental
stuff.
health.
Just don't get
It's like with mental health when you're stressed, be don't stress about it.
Yeah, literally.
Have a cup of tea.
Oh, you're crying, cheer up. Oh, I'm fine now.
I'm
Great,
cured.
thanks.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to be clear on no, we want it to be really perpetrator focused and have that specific language. So I think we've tried to really be different to a lot of unions who have been kind of saying, well, you need to keep yourself safe. No, you need to look at the preventative measures and the
100%.
education beside it.
Also, we have the resources to be able to speak to all students and say, okay, if you need help, this is where you can come talk to. Have you, specifically the Never Okay campaign, focusing around student welfare and nighttime and in big gatherings and whatnot, have you had any feedback from students about it?
So
what's the general vibe about it?
Yeah, the feels. So the self-defence classes both with sold out. So
Love
I mean, you know, obviously people are engaged and want to go to things like that. I'd say some of the posts that we've put out, we've got good engagement from in terms of what we've been doing. So we had good engagement from, so in December, I set up a all stakeholder meeting with the Police and Crime Commissioner, local MPs, people from the council, literally, went all the important people that have influence in the local area, brought them all together to be like, this is an issue, what you're doing about it, and can we keep in contact about it, keep in the loop, can we have influence on your campaigns and things you're doing. We got a good feedback about that, because it's obviously there's only so much we can do and the uni can do until you need to take it to
100%.
local MPs, you need to take it to Parliament, take it to councillors, Police and Crime Commissioner, for them to do things as well in their power. So I'd say the most engagement we got was probably from that meeting, because of it showed that we were taking it seriously and getting all those important people involved.
And it's so cool to like hear. It's always great. Like, I love it whenever I hear students being like change makers, like enacting change in their local government, and who knows, potentially might affect national government. But it always starts with someone, and it's great because, like I said, any potential student or people who are potentially thinking about going to university, whether it's the University of Gloucestershire or any other uni, to hear that people like yourself take this stuff seriously, it's so important.
It's a big change. Like, when I arrived here in 2018, it's been such a big shift, like for the
culture,
better as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't go out clubbing very often now because we're third years, we're stressed, we're depressed, but
we're crying in our room.
In our rooms, on our bed, doing dissertations. But when we went, the last time we went, there were anti-spiking cups.
That's all, Asha.
My voice went there.
we tried to ignore that.
I got so choked up. No, anti-spiking cups, and like they were readily available, and
that would have been free to just pick up on arrival.
And also like we got not roughly cert, but we got cert before we came in as well, and they were proper thorough. And like, what's this? I went, those are my house keys, and they went, oh, good, because the problem is spiking as well. And it's really good to see social change, because one of my big like.
Okay,
Don't get involved as well. Like I'm scared about how, if I ever, God forbid, if I have a daughter, if I get that far, like I'm scared for them, like of this and this age.
Is the thing, like with the self-defense classes, people that will sign up for those, they're not signing up out of fear.
No,
they might be signing up because they want the skill. I think it's cool because you might be in Cheltenham or Gloucester and nothing could happen to you throughout your whole university career. But I don't know, you might go to New York. Or you might go to, I don't know, Exeter or any other part of the world, and something might happen to you.
New York or Exeter.
I know. I don't know.
New York or Exeter.
My brain my brain just went to those two places. I don't know why.
Because we talked about Exeter before this podcast.
Yeah, we were talking about Exeter. But I was just like, what I'm saying is being scared doesn't necessarily mean that you're fearful of your immediate area. It's just about knowing what culture's like, knowing what society's like, which is not something that the university or us could change.
No,
That's
exactly.
not
It's so much greater than us.
But what we could do is provide people with the resources to be able, here is how you can protect yourself, or given Mumus, the club in Cheltenham, the resources to stop spiking and stuff like that.
And sometimes I think the fear of something happening is greater than it actually happening. Sometimes the fear itself can stop people from going out. So it's what kind of things can we put in place, like having those things in the venues, in the clubs, and having good partnerships with them to ensure that they feel as safe as possible when they do go out, because we know that can be greater.
Because if we as a student, if you're constantly living your student life worried about like
what a way to be.
No one wants that. For people that are watching the podcast, I'm not looking at my phone texting someone. I've got my questions here.
You're Snapchat.
I'm not being rude. I've got my questions on my phone. I guess this kind of leads us into something that I really want to talk about, which kind of nightlife and student safety, the Nightline. Which it's something that kind of started in September of 2021.
So
tell us more about that.
I was involved in the planning of it in my first year of term, so that had been last year then? It was some students that came to us, some mature students who really wanted to set a Nightline up. For those that maybe don't know, I don't know if it's worth saying, it's a student-led listening service, so it's an out-of-hours, like non-judgmental, confidential service for students to ring. But what I think is like good to mention is it's not just for a crisis. You know, sometimes you think of like Samaritans and you're like, oh my gosh, I can only ring you if it's a crisis. No, you can ring if you want to rant, you can ring if you want to chat, if you just want someone who just to listen to you about anything. Like I've sometimes sometimes rung them before, like the Samaritans, just to have a chat. And I think that's a nice thing to be able to do when, like we've said, sometimes with the issues of loneliness and feeling quite isolated. So that's what the Nightline is. It's run by students for students, and it's on a Wednesday and Friday, 8 till 8. So it's just, and we try to do that because of that's where like Wednesday is a big social like student night out. So we try to have it available for students if they need it at that point. So yeah, it launched September, October time last year and is open 2 days a week with the hope to make it more when they get obviously more volunteers.
I think it's really cool because like you said, it's not just about being in a crisis, it's that loneliness thing at uni that's so important.
And it, sorry.
Continue.
No, it's just like, I feel like you always feel that pressure of like, I have to be in an extreme place to like seek help or like do anything. And it's like, actually, no, like prevent it before it gets to that.
Let's just say, can you just talk us through the process? If I called up Nightline on a Wednesday, what would happen?
If they would completely take your lead, so it depends what you wanted to ring about. If you wanted to just have a chat about something, they would literally just listen to you. They wouldn't offer advice, but they would like just talk to you, have a chat with you. I think what's nice is because they're current students, they're more likely to kind of, you can feel quite relatable to them.
Know what's going on as well.
So exactly. So let's say you ring about a particular thing happening in Cheltenham, like most cases are that they're going to know what you're talking about because they're a student here. They probably experience the same things. So they'll just take your lead and just listen to you and chat to you, just keep you company when you ring. And like you say, because it's current students, they kind of know the 411, they're really relatable towards you, which is nice.
I think it's so good as well because like, there are other charities out there, but I think having Nightline where they know exactly kind of what happens at UOG, what happens in Cheltenham and Gloucester. Also, they might necessarily know what you're going through because they might have gone through it themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I think is really, really cool when someone like kind of has a shared experience. It makes it a bit more relatable.
And they work closely with like the university like student services as well, and with the student registrar who's like in charge of student services. We have like regular focus meetings to just check in with the Nightline. So if there was like a particular thing that came up that maybe they didn't know the answer to, they've got good links to go away and find out or signpost you. So you know, it's not like they'd be like, don't know, ring back tomorrow. They'd obviously go away and find out and help you and signpost you to the right place.
And like there's the Nightline, there's the help zone, and you can also just talk to your lecturers, like each
personal tutor.
There's so many people that at the University of Gloucestershire that will always be there to listen. And I always encourage anyone who's a student or not a student, if you're ever struggling, it's just kind of about taking that like little bite of bravery of kind of reaching out, because that's like that's the A of like that will lead you to a good Z. Do you know what I mean? So it's really interesting. I love how you mentioned loneliness, not because I love.
You're lonely.
Not because I love loneliness, but because I think it's one of the most impactful experiences a student goes through. Is you kind of see university from prior to come to uni, you're watching vlogs. I knew I was like watching vlogs on YouTube, watching TikToks now, where you're like glamorizing, romanticizing uni life. And uni is great, and you have all those beautiful moments and like going out with your friends, enjoying life. But then a lot of it, it's just you staring at a screen.
What an adjustment.
Writing, I don't know, 12,000 words, being like about the cultural impact of batteries. I don't know, but like, you know, writing about really fascinating stuff to you, and like to other people might not be fascinating. So you can't really talk about your work to everyone. Yeah.
Or even you don't want to. Like sometimes if I've like sat there all day doing work, I then after don't want someone to be like, oh, how's uni going?
It's going great.
It's really overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
Or like when you go back home and everyone's like, oh, how's the uni? It's all right, Barbara, leave me alone.
Yeah, like when your family.
Shut up now.
Yeah, when your family like want to know, and I'm like, I know you want to know, but like I don't want to know about it right now.
I do not want to relive it.
I find that conversations like with family, like it's because there's one thing of like, as students, we can understand because we've been there, but some of them haven't been to uni since. Some of them went to uni when it was free. For instance, it's like, and they're like, I mean, it's like, what are you complaining about money for? You get, I got nothing when I came to uni. It's like, but it's completely different.
Also, things are way more expensive. So like sometimes like you're actually alone because you do not have the means or I keep knocking my mic. You don't have the means or the resources to like go out every night, to go out for dinner, or even go out to like a neighboring city. When people have the money and the resources, they can do that. But I would love to know from all three of you, because you have have a really unique experience that a lot of people might have shared over the past few years is going through university during the pandemic, which I think heightened everyone's loneliness. What are the kind of things that you did to kind of help you not feel overwhelmed, kind of bring your mind at ease, kind of stuff?
Dog. 100%. I was very lucky that I got to live with some extended family. Like, we were living in a house of 8, 9 with a dog.
Wow.
And I don't know, it's just something about dogs that are just
Animals.
like animals and
They're
stuff.
so therapeutic.
But we were talking about before the podcast about, like, you needed to live close to a beach, for instance, and like everyone's got that one thing that they need, like their mental health kind of outlet, in a sense, to kind of just like
A coping mechanism.
I used to my thing was really strange. I used to take our dog Harvey out, he's a lovely golden retriever, he's a lovely little dog, and I used to take him to the golf course, and I used to get my voice recorder on my phone and just like make voice recordings and just rant about everything and nothing.
That's a great
That's
form
a
of
good
meditation.
idea. Yeah.
Interesting.
Even on my internship, I still done it. Like, even though it was in Hammersmith, I was like walking about Hammersmith, like I had to pretend I was on the phone because otherwise I look
People
like a
think you're
crackhead.
crazy.
I look like
Yeah.
a crackhead. But sorry, maybe I can't say. I look,
You can.
yeah, I look like a questionable individual. But like, I just walk around like with these voice memos, and now I have like this bank of like even on
back to bank.
back to
bank.
bank.
You're obsessed with
I
banks.
know. And now I have this bank. I do it on Snapchat memories as well. Just memories of like last year, for instance. It's like I'm waiting for my first payment. I'm broke, I can't go out, everyone else has gone out, and I'm sat in this house I don't know, setting up a table for my Kia, and like, I just don't know what to do.
Life is crazy. Life is so crazy when you're
Life is
students.
strange.
Do you know
It's
what?
so
That's
weird.
so good that you're getting it off your chest, though. Like, you're
I
outputting
talk
it in
to my-
some way.
My friends think I'm insane, but I talk to myself all the time.
Oh,
and
that's
great.
they always, my housemate, she's always like, I can hear you talking to,
I
because
do
the
it all the time.
bathroom's next
You're
to my
like,
room.
yeah, so
She's
what?
like, when I'm in there, I can hear you talking to yourself. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I am my own favourite person.
The conversations with myself are better than you.
No, but it's so true. I do
it walking down the street. And I'm like, why is everyone looking at me weirdly? Yeah, because you're mumbling to yourself, Hannah. That's why.
It's bad when you have headphones in because it looks like you're
Yeah.
on a
Singing lyrics.
But during lockdown, where my housemate started doing lockdown diaries on her phone.
Oh, yeah.
And we've
Oh
got
my
like a
God.
bank of videos on like Messenger group chat where it's just her in her bedroom. Like 3 a.m. She couldn't go to
Wow.
sleep. Let me update you about what's going on in my brain. And it's so interesting because I've
really
spoken to so many different people, especially doing the podcast as well. We've kind of spoken to students who have gone through it. We've all gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of like questioning everything.
Yeah.
And like loneliness just made it even more like heightened. Like I know when I was going through lockdown, I was in my first grad job, just graduated university. Like after my graduation, it was like 2 months after my graduation, we went into lockdown. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, is this what I want to be doing?
Yeah.
And looking back at it now, being like, yeah, of course I did.
Yeah.
Like I loved it. But at the
Yeah.
time I was like, I need to question everything.
I think for me it was really strange because if I was at uni, in my uni house, everything was normal, everything was fine, and then obviously the news came and it was like, you need to go home, you need to stay at home, you need to save lives, you need to just
Save
lock
lives.
the doors now.
Oh, the absolute
I was
trauma
like,
as well.
oh my god, okay then.
Yeah.
I also think like the rhetoric that came out of COVID in terms
Yeah.
of like instructions and stuff was so dramatic.
Yeah, but I remember being in my uni house like, oh my gosh, well, we don't know how long it's going to go on for.
Yeah.
Do I stay at uni house on my own with nobody here, everyone's gone home?
And if I
Yeah.
step out the door, am I going to kill someone?
Yeah, or do
Like,
I...
oh,
I genuinely
But,
felt
like,
like,
that's how I
I was
felt.
going to get arrested for like leaving my
Or
house.
do I go back to my family home? So in the end, I decided to go back there. But then something that I think I struggled with and came with the loneliness was I'm quite a social butterfly. I like going out with people, socialising, doing events. You couldn't do any of that. It was like you
Yeah.
can't see anyone that's not in your bubble. So I found that really hard going home because everyone just went home individually. No one got to say goodbye. Nobody
Yeah.
left. So when I
Yeah.
finished uni, I didn't say goodbye to any of my friends. We never had like the last meal or last moos or last
Yeah.
drinks because of it just ended so abruptly. So I think something to deal with that was, I don't know if some people do this, I rewatch TV like a lot. It's like a comfort
Oh my
thing.
god,
Do
I
you do
don't
it
watch
as well?
new things ever. I've rewatched the same
so like Friends,
things over and over
Outnumbered,
again.
Benidorm,
New Girl.
all of that classic.
Benidorm, I love that.
Shit's
Yeah,
Creek. Yeah.
literally. But I'll rewatch it, and that gives me comfort. It makes me feel quite relaxed when I feel quite anxious and quite isolated because it's familiar.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I did something similar. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast already. I watched a lot of reruns of Dr. Phil and Oprah.
Oh yeah. I'm not
God.
surprised.
Yeah,
you give me
this
those
is why I'm
vibes.
here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched a lot of Oprah, and it was so like therapeutic because it was just like life wisdom things. That I was like, I'm not being stimulated by anything
No,
else.
it's like background, isn't it? Just to have it there. That's
And
really
also,
nice.
I think with lockdown, and especially for you guys, because now you're kind of back in normal, and I'm using air quotes, normality.
The new normal.
The new normal, whatever it is. Like, how has the shift been?
What, coming back to normal?
Like, coming back to normality. Because I feel like some students would have been stressed. I don't know. Like, have you had students like talk to you as well about being stressed?
Some have found they're kind of going from online teaching and somewhat getting used to that, and then coming back to in person and going back to a house with different people. Especially, I think if some students have gone from having like vulnerable family members that they've lived with and then come back. We've heard some like anxieties there, but I'm interested to know what you say.
I guess like I think I enjoyed coming back because I started to get to. When everything was online, everything starts to feel the same. Like there's no separation between work and your free time. Like
no change of scenery.
I'm sleeping, I'm eating, I'm working, I'm watching TV, all in the same place.
It's autonomous.
So I liked coming back to uni and like having lectures, but I don't know.
It was big, and I feel like as well, like the uni's messaging was so mixed with COVID. Because there was one period of time where the case in Gloucestershire was so bad, but then the advice from the uni was like, still come in.
The thing is, government.
It was such a mixed messaging. Yeah,
government guidelines. I was at home, be like, am I meant to leave the house? Am I meant to not leave the house?
I think as well, a lot of students, especially the ones who've just graduated, I feel like they were vilified quite a lot for the lockdowns and such. And they're like, it's the students still. The students are still doing this. And then most of the students I knew were very, very good with like staying at home, staying with their families, until Dominic Cummings went up to Scotland for an eye test, and then the pieces start to fall apart. But I even think like earlier this year, for instance, we went from like limited restrictions to we're back to normal.
We're back to normal.
And I think like for a lot of students that's such a big mix. Like even like I know people in the working world, like they still haven't figured out how to go back. They're still doing 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. So how are we meant to figure out at this level when at the highest level they're still trying to figure things out?
There's still that uncertainty, isn't there?
Yeah.
100%.
This is why I love like I'm going back to the hashtag Never Okay campaign. This is why I love it so much, because so many of the students that would have or started university might have turned 18 during lockdown. They would
never been to a club.
Never been to a club. Never gone to a
I think that's weirder than when I started, because at least I had like 3 months of normal uni before COVID hit, whereas if you started the year afterwards, you started in the middle of it all, which I think would be weirder.
And that are angry that they've like missed out on their first year and they've not had, which I completely understand. I'd be the same. They're angry they haven't had the stereotypical first year at uni and the socialising and the building belonging and having their group. Like that's not happened for them. So it's hard, isn't it?
It's small things. Like we had an amazing conversation with the LGBTQ plus society. They had to restart their society because the one that left didn't do any handover.
The committee left.
So there's a lot of like there's no handover. So there's like some societies are like, is there like when they come to the welcome fair, they go like, oh, is there this society? And there's like, well, we did have it, but now we don't. So if you want to do it, you can just start it up again. So it's about restarting the wheel and stuff. Yeah,
it's a classic case of like how, I mean, going back to COVID, like it broke down communications. This is why I think. And I'm going to big up the SU here a bit. That's why I think the SU is really, really important to kind of like the student experience. Because anyone that works in the university as like an actual academic area, we're here to give you education. We're here to make sure that you're safe. But then the SU's like plays a huge part, if not the biggest part, in like student experience outside of lectures.
100%.
And I think like again, going back to the Never Okay campaign, like that's a great thing. But also one of the things that I love seeing on campus is something that the SU, I guess, works with the Cheltenham Borough Council and like the Gloucestershire County Council, like the Stop Period Poverty campaign, like having stands and campuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not the council actually, it's the like period poverty charity. They donate the sanitary products to us, which is really kind. So we've got sanitary products and we've got contraceptives for free actually outside all of our shops. So we just want to ensure that, like you say about students and equal opportunities and the money issues there, just making sure that everything's accessible for them. And
it makes the uni experience a bit more I don't want to say bearable, because it's not something
No,
they have to bear. It's not a hardship, but it's like it makes it a bit more less stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, like outside of where are we here today? What's the studio?
We're in the living room.
We're in the living room at
So-
Park.
Which is the Students' Union.
Yeah, it's
Union's
union
office.
outside, and there's the period poverty, the stand, sorry.
Yeah.
And there's also Contraceptives next door, and every time I've walked past it, at the end of the day, no Contraceptives.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I know. I lead on that. And I noticed that. I check at the end of the day, and I'm
Our students
like,
are active.
cheeky.
In the gym.
The amount, yeah.
That's an inside joke. Maybe we'll talk about it on another podcast.
Maybe.
Behind the scenes, behind the uni.
We'll have
Behind-
a PG-13 episode.
Yes.
where we just-
Yeah, but no, it's really good to see and such,
Yeah.
and it is kind of strange that you have to like pay for like something your body naturally does, and
Don't even get me started
Yeah.
on sanitary products.
Oh
and having
my
to pay for
God,
them.
yeah.
But yeah, no, like
So-
I remember when I was a student, like actually having conversations with some students who are in my class about if you're a student and you might be living solely on your maintenance loan, you don't have a weekend job, because some students, let's be honest, can't actually work. Like if you're
Yeah.
disabled or anything, like there's disabled allowance, but some students will run out of money.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay, I get my period. I don't get my period. But obviously,
Yeah.
like a female student get their period,
Yeah,
and if they
yeah.
can't afford that,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So like, I think
And
it's
it is
a great thing.
expensive.
Yeah,
it
it
is
is
expensive.
Really
So
expensive.
yeah, the products we used to have in the shop actually a couple of years ago, but obviously because they're not open every day, the shops, and if it's in half term, you can't get into them. So this year I made sure that we had them outside, so that, you know, because also it might be a bit embarrassing if you're going there and there's people around and you want to
Yeah.
pick something up, whether that's contraceptives or whether that's
Yeah.
products. So, you know, if someone maybe wants to come when it's quieter a bit later, you know,
just
even if
grab
it's in the evening when they're at the library, they can grab whenever they want.
I think it makes so much sense.
but the contraceptives are like
Yes.
they are not like no one shy. Like one guy made eye contact with me, took a big handful, and walked out like, yeah, guess what I'm doing. And I'm sitting there going like the
I guess that's the point of it.
And I was like, well, high five.
But you know, this is what I love about just like, I don't know, our generation, is that we're becoming less like desensitized to sex and like
Yeah.
conversations
The
like this.
taboo.
Because it's not a
100%.
taboo. I was like, everyone's having it.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Like at least
Yeah.
if you're gonna do it, we would love to give you the resources to do it
Exactly.
safely.
Just-
Don't do it at the uni.
Don't do it in the uni. 'Cause we've had some people do it in public, and that's not okay.
We're gonna cut some footage now.
Oh God, could you imagine CCTV footage? No, but like I think it's really, really cool what you're doing, and I mean whoever will come next has
Yeah.
big boots to fill.
Oh, that's
Big
really
shoes to fill.
kind.
Because you've done incredible things, and
Oh,
I
thank
guess
you.
refer to my list of questions. Going back to when you were a student,
Yeah.
pre-COVID, so
Yeah.
like first and second
When I
year.
think back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Looking back, was there like a moment in time as a student where you felt like you couldn't do it? You're like, you know what, I'm gonna quit.
Is in being a student.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably like nearly all the time.
Does everyone have
I
it?
think it happens a lot because of,
Yeah.
like you say, you compare yourself to other
Yeah.
people, and sometimes, certainly for me, if I wasn't getting the same grades as like my friends, I'd be like, I'm not good enough.
Oh, I hate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
when
Oh, I
people
got
get that
2-1.
grade.
What did you get? Like,
I got a 71. I got a 69. 69.
Oh, I hate
literally,
Yeah.
100%.
It was like the classic conversation.
And it's like, I know you're telling me what you got, but like, how do I politely say I don't want to talk about
Yeah,
this?
literally. I used to just say, I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think at like the start of the term, you know, when you've got the dollar and everyone's going out, and that's a great part of uni because you're like, I can do whatever I want. You know, do you want to go out for brunch at Boston Tea Party? Hell yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Give them those pancakes. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you've got the dollar to do it. But then I think when it gets towards the end of the term where it's, you know, you're scraping the barrel quite thin, you're like, oh my God, should I be here? Should I go home?
Yeah.
I've had enough. I'm sat in my room feeling really isolated. I think it gets the waves, doesn't it? If some people
Yeah.
are like really enthusiastic, really passionate, and then other times they're like, why am I here? I hate this. This is stressful. Why am I putting myself through
Yeah,
this?
like this is a weird time because like we've not got any lectures anymore.
Yeah.
It's like on the one hand that's great because
Yeah,
I've got
true.
more time
To like work on
to
assignments,
actually
live
do
your life.
work. But on the other hand, I don't know what time of day it is.
Yeah.
Like time is irrelevant to me at the moment.
Sometimes
I'm like
you know
it could
that
be
structure or that routine.
Yeah, I'm like there's no structure, and I'm not like mentally stable enough and disciplined to set it myself. Like I've tried so many times after Christmas.
Yeah.
I was like, right, I'm going to treat this like a 9-to-5 job. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to go to that lasted about
Yeah.
a week, and then I'm like, I can't work in the library because there's people here that aren't working and they're just like chatting, whatever. And I'm like, something about my brain, I'm like, I need a very particular working environment.
And you have to be independent. Like, I can't do it.
You can't do it. It's absolutely impossible.
And then sometimes I'll like sit at the desk in my bedroom and I'm like, but it's like my room. And because at uni, like, yes, you have a whole house, but my whole life is in one room. So even working in that room is sometimes a bit like, no, I need to go elsewhere.
Also, like, waking up, and I guess this is, again, very pandemic-esque, like waking up, sitting at a desk for hours and hours, in the same room, staring at a wall, you're like...
When you're like a metre away from your bed. You literally
I remember when I was a student, I started a society where I used to have to do magazine design for like hours and hours.
Just paradizine.
Yeah, doing for Redazine, and I would sit on my desk for 8 hours just working at it. I absolutely loved it, don't get me wrong. It was such a delight and I loved doing it. But looking back at it, I'm insane.
Yeah.
Because I used to
8 hours.
8 hours.
I praise you for that because I struggled. I loved it, but I really struggled with it.
Well, I think I was doing insane. I was just drinking coffee upon coffee. I would have like snacks. I wasn't even eating properly, which again is just so not healthy.
Yeah.
And I always say like physical health affects your mental health and vice versa.
Yeah.
But after each issue, so we used to create a magazine that was like around 80 pages. We used to release it every 3 months as students, and there was a lot of people involved. After each magazine, there was like a week when none of us talked to each other.
Wow.
Because we spent so much time together.
Yeah.
Also having like healthy arguments about what should go in a magazine, being creative and whatnot. It used to go crazy, and I would just sit there and be like, what I've just... There was no time because I could go to sleep at 6 a.m. and for it to be okay.
I was like, I don't know if it's 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. at all.
I think I love watching the TikToks of people being like that, that the simulation is broken when you go to uni because you've got a 9 a.m. lecture, then you finish the lecture and you sleep, and then you're up at like 7 p.m. getting ready for like pre-drinks somewhere. Then you go out and then you stay up till 3 a.m. But then you go to sleep and then wake up at 2 p.m.
cycle.
And it's like...
Do you know what it is? It is the best of times and the worst of times.
Literally.
And I think with uni as well, like with a 9 to 5 job, there is an off button. You finish at 5 or you finish at 5:30 or whatever, and then you go home. But I feel like uni, there is no off button. You're consistently working. Like,
you're a student 24/7.
You're always a student, like working on weekend, like trying to fill in. Like we talked about it last week about that 15, like maybe hour creativity you have. Like I'm gonna burn the candle for this amount of time.
Yeah,
it's like I've stopped doing work in my room. I go to a public place and I do it because I feel like work is a performance. So then I'm like, right, I've got to pretend to like be an adult now. So now I'm sitting there and there's a guy watching me across the room. I'm like, right, I'm going to impress you.
And do you know what? Something I used to live by a lot when I was a student was that I'll do it tomorrow, and I've got loads of time.
Oh God, yeah.
Because of, and the thing is,
tomorrow comes.
And
then you're like the audacity.
And you're like, oh my gosh. But it's the social pressures as well, because you see your friends going out, going to a restaurant, going out to a club, going to a bar, and you're like, well, I don't want to miss out on that because I'll get FOMO, and I know I'm going to do my work, but I don't want to miss out, so I'm going to go to this, and then, oh my God, I'm hungover the next day, so that writes a day off, and then you're like, I need to get this assignment done. You've got the kind of, always got the dilemma and the juggling of, I don't want to miss out on things, because if you only live once, you're in at uni once, all this, this will be the best time of your life, and then oh my gosh, I do need to do my work.
I had huge FOMO at the end of second year, because that was when everything started opening up again in like April, and it was really sunny, and I was like, I want nothing more than to go outside and just like sit in the park. Like, again, living in Mile Hill Road, Mile Hill Parade, the park is right there, and there's like Imperial Gardens, and I'm just like, that's all I want to do. But I was like, I had to get an extension for a couple of things, and I was like, I had so much FOMO, because I'm like, everyone else seemed to have their together and was like, I've done my work and I'm gonna like, let's go to the park today. They probably don't, but they were like confidently not getting anxiety about going and sitting in the park all day, whereas I'm like still in my pajamas, like I don't know how long I've been awake or how long I've been asleep, and I need to do work, but I want to go outside. And the FOMO is real, and like, because you never switch off, you always think about uni work even when you're not doing it.
I'll be in the mood thinking of my dis. Literally drinking a VK.
You're on a night out planning like what time you're going to start work tomorrow, and it's like,
do I go to my 9 a.m? Just saying.
One of my favorite things that ever came out of the University of Gloucestershire is that a student took their laptop
Yes.
and
Really?
submitted an assignment before midnight while they were on the bar.
That's insane.
And it's one of my favourite videos that's ever existed. Because it's
I'm gonna
hilarious.
find that. That's so
'Cause,
funny.
Like,
Do you know who it was?
no,
I actually have something to say about that.
was it you?
No, it was, no.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was,
He's there looking at Barclays in a separate tab.
just sitting there like, drivers near me. That actually, at least to my knowledge, that was actually a fake video.
It was. I think it was.
It was part of I think it was like something to do with digital marketing.
I think it's
maybe.
film production.
It was one of the two. It's either digital marketing or film production. They had to create a viral video, and that's when it went. But the video, because it's filmed vertically as well, it's so believable.
Good.
But they done a Gloucestershire Live article about it as well. Like it's such a good video.
But it's one of my favourite things because this is like the ultimate student experience. It's like you will never ever see a company or like any other thing doing something like that, because how are you going to relate to it? One of my favourite things about that video is that when he submits his assignment, they play, I can't remember what song it was, and everyone starts carrying him. The actual coordination that went into it is so good. One thing that I want to touch on, because like we have to talk about it, I keep knocking my mic, is welfare and diversity. So which is, I guess it's a really, really important thing that we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because during the pandemic, and prior to the pandemic, might remind people, BLM was huge.
Yep.
And it was, and I'm going to say this again, and people, I'm sure, will agree with me, BLM has been around for years and years and years. Just because it became huge in the pandemic doesn't mean it's a new thing.
No.
We have students who are obviously of BAME backgrounds, and we have international students. What have you tried to do, or what does your role entail to kind of make sure that these students are represented, seen, heard?
Yeah, so something I really try and do is work closely with the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion team at the uni. So the dedicated team, obviously they have the interns there as well. I really try and keep in the loop with them in terms of what's coming up for them, what's coming up for us, how we can collaborate on that. And sometimes if it's like a wider issue, obviously signposting it like to them so that they can look at it more widely. I try and work closely with the chaplaincy, who do a lot for international students.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Love the chaplaincy and the sanctuary spaces. They do a lot for like Global Cafe, which is like a session that they're doing on a Wednesday, particularly for international students. So I have regular meetings with them in terms of if there's any like common themes or concerns that are coming up and how we can work together on that. I also sit on some like good meetings as well. So there's a Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic Plus network that I sit on. So that has like external and internal people in there that talk about like student experiences at UOG, how they're finding it, what issues they've got, how we can best help with that. Also sit on international student experience meeting as well. And I try and work closely with like external members of like, you know, the communities, like charities and stuff as well. I think just the best thing to do is keeping your ear to the ground, being a student representative and being really front facing, just going out and talking to students and seeing how they're finding life and what's coming up for them. We have network leads as well, so students who represent a particular group. So like, for example, we have an international student network lead. We don't actually have a Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic Plus lead this year. However, that doesn't mean that obviously I don't look at other avenues to obviously find out the kind of consensus of how students in that group are feeling, which I do through like the EDI team or the different like chaplaincy groups. So I think it's just really keeping your eye to the ground, and like some of the campaigns that we do as well. So we did a Mental Health Matters campaign last year, which looked at particular support available for different groups. So and one of the specific days we did was for Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic Plus. Another was for LGBTQ plus. So it's really just like never forgetting that obviously they may need like specific help with certain things, and really acknowledging and being aware of the particular issues that they may face, and sometimes the systemic issues that exist as well, and how you can best help with that. So some things that come up I can escalate to the executive team at the uni as well. So monthly I meet with like the Vice Chancellor and his team, where we bring up things as well. So like obviously at the time for BLM, that's what we brought up, issues there. So I think it's just keeping your eye to the ground and really taking advantage of the different spaces you're in, where you've got some of the people in there that can influence that change at a higher level. So, and just feeding back the student concerns, really.
Yeah, I think it's also really cool that like that's a cornerstone of your role.
Yeah.
Because I'm Egyptian. I was an international student technically.
Yeah.
if I had an issue, I know who to come to.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really good for anyone that's watching or listening. If you listen to this, I don't know, in 2025, I guarantee you that there is still a well-found diversity officer at the university that you can find and like talk to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's cool, and I love that the Students' Union also is really aware of like calendar things. Like, I think some people think it's frivolous to like celebrate Black History Month, but I don't think it's frivolous at all, because it's about representation.
And that was one of the points you've just reminded me actually on my manifesto. And so like the named awareness days, so like ensuring that we do something to that to either raise awareness or celebrate or acknowledge. So like you say, for Black History Month, for Holi, for Diwali, for Eid, all the different types of events, we made sure that we had them in the calendar and we did something for it, for the student community as well.
It's like, it's the whole idea of like being seen.
I think that's really cool, and like, you know, it's may come to shock to many of you, but I'm white.
Wow.
I know. But there's some stuff that maybe that I wouldn't think of that will be so much like perceived so much differently from a different community.
And why should you? This is the thing.
No.
You shouldn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I would love for us to be in a space where we don't have to think about it. This is why it's really, really good, because you see what they do and you're like, this is happening.
So for instance, like this is Ramadan at the moment, we're in that, and like such a difficult period of time, like waking up early, eating, then the entire day like having to like go through uni and do the similar stuff that we do. And it's about those concerns of like, and thinking of things from a different perspective rather than your own. Like your perspective of being an international Egyptian student is very different to me being a white, middle class, very annoying student.
Annoying. We love you.
Oh, thank you. I actually knew that.
Fisher for confidence.
I actually knew that. I just wanted to hear you say it. But no, it's really good.
That's something we did as well. So for our Diwali post, but also our Ramadan post that we did recently, we put on there kind of what is the holiday or the awareness day. How can you either celebrate it or raise awareness of it, and how can other students help support the students that are going through that? So like we say, we wanted to involve the other students, that if they wanted to either support or get involved or like help in any way, they could, like some top tips. So we included that as well. So, you know, for example, if there's students of Ramadan, they, you know, like meetings or lectures might be a bit different. They might have to be more flexible on it, and having that awareness of things that may need to be adjusted a little bit for those days or that period.
I think this is something that I saw on LinkedIn, like especially with Ramadan, like having to fast throughout the day, where you might be in lectures or even going to work during the weekend. My favorite thing that ever came out of the pandemic is the whole idea of like working from home. Yes. And then, like in uni, you can request to be like, can I just stay at home? Because if you're a Muslim student who is dedicated to your faith, and as you obviously it's up to you what you do with your life. It's really, really hard to kind of like wake up in the morning, go to uni for a 9 a.m. lecture in general, let alone when you're fasting. So having that option to kind of stay at home and practice your faith is really cool.
Not eating, you know, it's probably going to affect your mood as well. Like it's going to do a lot to you, so you need to 100%. Put in those like requirements and adjustments to help you with that.
And the resources are also available online later on. So you can like actually, I'm not saying people should skip lectures, but if you do skip a lecture, you can catch up easily.
I really hope this just creates a really, like, all this stuff creates a really good next generation of like global citizens, like people who are aware of different, like we had a really interesting conversation about allyship, like even if you're not part of something, like supporting it. And I just really hope this creates a new era of like global citizens who are aware of different things outside their own, like Ramadan, Diwali, BLM, I didn't know that BLM was around for 40, 50 years until we had a conversation beforehand. So it's really good.
It's like, it's everything that you see online that was perceived as like a new thing, whether it's put in effort in diversifying your offering as a university, or if you're a company or anything. People have tried to do it. People have kind of maybe failed or succeeded. That's why it's really, really great that like I loved having you on this podcast, because
well, I feel wanted.
Yeah, because like we speak about something that a lot of universities don't talk about.
No, you're right.
This is why we love doing this podcast, is because we talk about
being so open and honest, and that's what students are going to want to know.
And
about,
that's probably the best way to learn more about it. If you don't 100%. Know, is like education. The only way you're going to do that is having conversations.
Yeah, and it's like your role. I don't know about how other universities operate in terms of their unions, but we're not the only uni in the UK. No. We're not the only uni with one... What a shocking statement. That's going to be the title of the episode.
You've ruined my perception of the uni.
But like every university has a different bespoke experience. Some students, BAME students, might feel comfortable to go to a student like a university that has a large proportion of BAME students, or vice versa. However, you just go to where you feel, and I think this is what we try to do with the podcast, is to kind of give you all the information. You make your own decision, and it's good. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course you can.
I preface it with, can I ask a question? Because I'm not the host. I'm the
Sorry, no.
Okay.
No, you can't.
You're filling in for Lewis. It's fine.
So you've served your 2 terms.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice to the people that come after you, and like just some things that you've actually, some things you actually learned?
So like future officers
Yes,
that come
future
into this
officers,
role.
like not even maybe the next ones, even the ones that come after the next, and like if they listen to this in 2030.
I think just having that passion is a massive thing. Like if you feel really enthusiastic and you want to make that change, like I don't think people realize how much change you can actually make in an officer role, like the opportunities that come to you, the influence of your voice in different spaces, like the campaigns you lead on and how that can evoke so much change. Like I think just having that passion will then snowball for all of the rest of the stuff, and also probably like your manifesto as well, like owning it and achieving it and like working to like succeed in those things. I'd say the main thing is to just have passion and like a desire to evoke change is probably the main thing I'd say. And just talking to students, like obviously they are the ones that elect you in. They're technically your boss. They're, you know, your elected members or whatever you'd call it. So like just going out and talking to them and really listen. Like, you know, when they say like, oh, you're hearing me, but you're not listening. Yes. Listen to what they're saying. Like if they're saying to you, you know, I'm really struggling with this, or I'd really appreciate like a campaign or a project on this. Like you do all you do for them. Like they elect you on that manifesto, on what they want you to do. So you do it. So I just say, yeah, like, having that passion and really listening to your student representatives is probably the main thing. Yeah.
That's really
great advice.
Such a good advice.
I was going to say, I was off on it. I was literally, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, how do I answer this?
No, but that's like great advice, because like, again, it's, you said the students are your boss.
Yeah,
which I love
exactly.
that saying.
I was going to say,
But yeah, like if you're not representing them, then they're not going to be
why are you
engaged.
here?
They're going to come out, you're fired, you're not here anymore.
Yeah, I wish our government would do that. But like, whoa, big statements.
Well,
big
that's for
statements.
another podcast.
Before we wrap up, and again, thank you so much for taking the time out to come. This has been such a lovely discussion, and anyone that is obviously interested in kind of get in touch with the Students' Union, they can get in touch by the website or social media.
Yeah.
But before you go, we love to ask our guests 3 questions that kind of like wrap up the whole conversation, and they're really silly, so no, we're not. I'm not here to ask you how would you solve world hunger. I was going
to say how much time we got.
How would you stop climate change?
How would you stop climate change? No, they're a really silly question. What is the, when you were a student, or no, even as a Students' Union officer, what is the laziest or most shocking student meal that you've ever had or made?
The laziest meal? Oh my God. Chucking in like smiley faces, turkey dinosaurs and baked beans. That's just a classic, isn't it? But you just chuck it in the oven.
I call that British tapas.
Oh. Yeah.
British culture.
Tapas. Like
No,
it's a beige dinner.
Picky bits.
Picky bits.
But then you feel that's lazy, because sometimes you have to turn over the turkey dinosaurs or turn
You have
over
to
the
turn on the oven.
Can't be bothered with that. But that's probably the beans on toast. You know, that's classic.
That's quite good though.
Have you ever tried bread and water? Like that is.
Oh, I don't know if I've never even had a pot noodle. I know.
Yeah, your meals aren't very
Gas.
unhinged. Like
I've never had a pot
You've never
noodle.
had a pot noodle?
No, I went through 3 years of a student and 2 years as an officer. Never touched
Not
it.
even pre-university?
No,
Wow.
never.
Not even like a little
I've been
knockoff.
deprived. Never.
When is your birthday? When is your birthday?
June.
I'm going to
So
send you.
you've got
I'm
time.
going to send you a box of pot
a
noodles.
life supply of pot noodles.
25th of June. Put it in that
I
calendar.
will. I actually will send you a pot noodle.
That's TikTok content.
That is TikTok. You never had a pot noodle. Yeah.
Literally.
Lewis Holman here, Mr. Holman. His student meal is bread and water.
It was one time.
What do you mean?
And you do like like the bread was dry and possibly stale, so I put like a little bit of water on it.
I thought you meant you had a glass of water, but you mean your
poured a little
pussy.
bit. It was in first year. It was
horrible.
coming to it was a Christmas treat.
Do you know
Christmas
what?
treat.
Something else I can help you. We've got money advice. So let's get you to there, shall we?
He was in the finance
He was
episode.
in the finance. That's why you went to rob a bank.
Oh, you know what? If someone from listening out there is going to rob a bank and frame me for it and then use this as evidence.
Listen, you made that joke, and now it's going to be a running joke throughout
I
the
hope
whole
this episode comes after the other one, because otherwise it's not going to make any sense.
Yeah, we're recording the episodes in such a weird way. But yeah, I will make sure that this episode comes out the robbing bank one, so
What I'll do
actually
is
people know.
I'll have like a name badge when I run up the bank, and then I'll like drop a badge that says Hisham.
Like in Cinderella.
Yeah.
You're going to frame me?
No,
yeah.
frame Lewis because he's not here.
Yeah, Lewis is in Spain, living his best
Not
life.
me,
Frame
Lewis
him.
Ford, yeah.
Amazing.
Doing money heist.
So again, I don't think that's a bad
No,
student
that's
meal.
not
That's
actually.
very good.
Now you said bread and water. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I've set the standard.
It's so funny. I mean, we've spoken about mine, but mine is Marmite and spaghetti. Spaghetti Marmite. I know.
I've not had it, but it sounds nice.
It's a Nigella Lawson thing. And my other housemate Lewis, who's not on the podcast or anyone knows who he is. I've got so many Lewises in my life.
Poor man.
Lewis 3.
Lewis Thompson, who did film production at the university. He showed me the recipe and I was like, this sounds disgusting, but also I'm intrigued. And
Yeah.
it's
Is
really
it
good.
literally just Marmite on pasta?
So you
Or is it-
boil your spaghetti and you put like 2 tablespoons of like Marmite, and yes, tablespoons, I know,
Table.
with butter. Melt the butter with the Marmite and just dump your pasta in and Parmesan on top. It's so good. It's like pesto pasta but with Marmite.
And see, now you've said about yours, I've had spaghetti and salt.
Just what?
So I'm boiling some spaghetti. I'm just some salt in.
No
and I'll
butter?
eat it.
No.
So there you go. That's more impressive, I think. It's a lazy meal.
I've done that, like just
Spaghetti
eating.
and salt.
I've done
Eating-
spaghetti and ketchup
I made it gourmet by doing like the Salt Bay, like that.
on your
Yeah.
water
Or it's
bread.
like eating pasta straight out the saucepan because you can't be bothered to put it in a bowl.
Yeah.
Do you know,
Yeah.
after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's one of the actors in it. Is it Brad Pitt? Yeah, Brad
Yeah.
Pitt. Like he eats food out of the pot, and I saw people
It's smart.
People started doing
Yeah.
it, and they were like, "Oh, we done it with Brad Pitt." But I done it because I was broke. I couldn't afford
That was the
plates.
thing
That's why I
anyway.
done it.
Yeah, it's because I was lazy and didn't want to wash a bowl up.
Especially if it's you, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
my
sometimes
pan.
it's just it's nice to just hold.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna start doing that again.
Because Brad Pitt done it.
Because Brad Pitt done it. From one, like your lazy student meal, to what's on your bucket list? What's the one thing that you would love to do?
Go on a girls' holiday.
Love that.
So
Where would you
again, anywhere.
Can we go?
It's cheap.
Can we come?
Yeah, go on then. And like literally, you know, like there's like Zante, Ibiza, like
Yeah.
even if just going to like Mallorca in Spain, like sitting by the pool in the day with
Cocktails.
a book or just like with some drink. I mean, the drinks will probably come later, but actually probably in the day
Yeah.
as well. Let's
Well, no,
be
when you
honest.
go on holiday, people get cocktails
like
at like
a
10
girls'
a.m.
holiday. But you know when like everyone talks about it and then it just never happens.
Yeah.
And then you get
Yeah.
old and you get an adult and then you get a job and then you got no money. It's
Yeah.
one of those
Then you get
things.
kids.
Then,
Yeah.
Oh well, if any of Asha's friends are listening, guys,
Yeah,
book the
sort
bloody
it out.
holiday. Book the bloody
This
holiday.
is
and
your
go on to
sign.
it. I like that. No,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I really want to do that.
I really wanna
always,
do it.
Like tell my friends, can we go on? Not like a lads holiday because
Lads.
But like, I was like,
Like the English top on the shoulder. All right, lads.
no. I always said I would love to go to like I don't know, like Sunny, just like one of those places.
Yeah.
'Cause just the novelty
I
of
went
it
to
all.
Greece
Maybe
this
it's-
summer with one of my friends.
Nice.
Oh,
So
maybe it's
Yeah.
watching in between us when they go to Malia. I'm like, oh yeah, I want a holiday like that. Not.
imagine everyone just comes and meets us in Corfu.
I love that. But yeah, it's fun like a group outing together.
Yeah.
My two
that'd be
flatmates,
fun.
two of my flatmates are going end of this month.
Oh.
They're going to Lanzarote.
Nice.
Can I just go into one suitcase, please? I really need to
big
go.
suitcase. Can I rectify mine? I said last time it was like I don't know, like drive a car or something. That's my
Yeah.
goal. I want to do like a 5-minute stand up. That's what I wanted to do.
That's really cool.
That is cool.
That's
Like a tight 5 minute.
Because last time I was like, oh, I don't travel.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I would like to do it all. Listen to things.
There's so much I'd
I
want
love
to
talking
do.
about like going on holiday and Lewis Ford
Yeah.
is actually on holiday
Is
right
actually
now.
on holiday.
Living
Not
our
fair,
lives
not
on
fair.
a
Let's just all go and not invite him. The little snake
What,
didn't
next
invite
week?
us.
Next
Who just goes back? Hello?
he comes
He has to
back.
come back and do it on his own.
He comes back to record the episode and like the podcast, and we're just not even here.
Yeah.
And we like FaceTime him from I don't know
Vlogging
Lanzarote,
from like New Zealand or something.
do it
New
for like.
Zealand. How bougie! I love
Yeah.
that.
I really
Wow.
want to go to New
Do
Zealand.
it from is it Cleve Hill? Do it from Cleve Hill.
Cleve Hill.
You're in New Zealand.
No, go down to the south of Cornwall and pretend that we're in
Oh.
the Mediterranean.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
We should all go to Cornwall. I love that. You've also had like obviously a very unique experience with UOG. You're
Yeah.
a student and then you're an SU officer. So we normally ask everyone to sum up university experience in one word. So I'm going to ask you sum up your student experience in one word.
Yeah.
And sum up your SU officer experience in one word.
Oh my gosh.
Let's start off with SU officers because it's like fresh.
SU officer is probably.
It's a hard question, I know.
You were put on the spot here.
I know. Really inspiring. Like it's, I think, going to inspire me to go on to my future endeavours working in SUs.
Love
is
that.
in welfare. So probably inspiring. And then uni,
Your student experience.
my
at
student
university.
experience, probably like... This is hard.
It's a hard question.
Probably like experience or like lessons learned, but then I'm not doing the one word thing, am I?
It's fine.
Experience.
Give me a
It's
phrase.
definitely-
Give me a
yeah.
phrase, yeah.
Definitely been an experience. Learned a lot from it, and I think it shapes you and molds you as a person
Amazing.
moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I think university is like a great tool to,
Yeah.
I don't know, help you grow up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely.
It's a massive learning curve, whether
Yeah.
that's good or bad.
And like you were saying earlier, Lou, it's like best times of your life, but also some of the worst times of your life
Yeah.
as you're learning about everything. So I think the lessons it teaches you, and then how you take that moving forward for your life, which has gone so deep now.
No,
Oh
but
my
I
God.
mean, like we've had such lovely discussion today, and you've spoken about really, really important topics. And again, like some of the stuff that not a lot of people talk about
Yeah.
when it comes to university. So Asha, thank you so much for coming onto the
No,
podcast.
that's all right. Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Hannah and Lewis, for coming onto the podcast again. I'm sure we'll see you another episode.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
You're part of the furniture now. It's fine. You come with.
Hopefully more stable than this. The whole episode has been like wobbly. I've been sitting here like...
We'll get you a new chair. But
Thank you,
thank you so
No,
much.
I really, really loved it.
And
Thank you.
if anyone ever wants to kind of get in touch with the SU, if you're a student at UOG or potentially thinking about coming to UOG, go onto the website, go into their social media. They're at UOG Student Union on Instagram, I believe, yes. Or if you want to get in touch and have any questions in general, just get in touch at uniofglos on Instagram, and we'll be able to answer your questions or point you on where to go if you want to get in touch with the Students' Union. And thank you guys so much.
Amazing, thank you.
And thank you so much for listening or watching. And we'll see you next week. And we like to do a little bye to everyone. So if you say bye to that camera. Bye.
Bye.